Good evening, and welcome back to the first stream of 2025. How you doing, Lee? Neil?
Good.
You all good?
Yep.
Good. What have you been on with, Lee, just lately? I know you've been working away a lot, haven't you? So.
Yeah. Well, I've done that Atari video. That's given me the ump. I've still got to unbox my ZX Spectrum from Retro Games. It's still sealed in the box. And yesterday I was fighting with my Jamix, so I had a lot of problems with that yesterday.
I think you need to iron some of these problems out, mate. You've got too many on the go.
Yeah. The Jamix decided just to pack up again. So, yeah.
It's a pain, isn't it, when you're playing with these things? I suppose, I don't know whether you get it with misters and stuff, but with other stuff like that, when you're trying to set them all up, you finally get it somewhere near, and then all of a sudden it just goes and falls over.
Well,
and you have to start all over again.
Is you plug the mister into a Jamix and you put it into the ITX case, and I haven't touched it for a few months, and when this happened before, the same thing's happened this time. I've gone to it, I've powered it on, done an update all, had a little play, and then suddenly the video goes boom, just disappears.
Wow.
And it's like you lose the trust.
Yeah.
In it, because you don't want to spend a day messing around with something when you turn it on.
Yeah,
so that's what's happened. So
right.
Yeah,
a bit like your Atari.
I was just going to say that.
I didn't get a day out of that.
It's a bit ridiculous, to be fair, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you saw how it failed. It failed live on the video, and it wasn't a complete failure. It just didn't read any cartridge.
Boot looping, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But that's the whole point. It needs to read the cartridges. Otherwise,
Exactly.
there's not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. They work in a certain way, though, don't they? When you put the cartridge in, it sort of reads the cartridge and then has to transfer it across into the emulation side of it. Is that right?
And then run it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to get a massive delay there, aren't you? So if out goes Pete Tong in between that section, then it's screwed pretty much, isn't it?
Well, it's about 15 seconds from start up to before you can play a game, which doesn't sound like a lot until you're actually in front of it, and trust me, it's going to wind you up.
Yeah, I mean, we know, even back with VIC-20s and Commodore 64s, you plug the cartridge in, you flick the switch, boom.
And it's on.
Yeah.
Instantaneously.
That's why cartridges were so good.
So for them to get that experience, for people that don't bother with the good stuff, if you like, the original gear, that don't want to play with stuff like that, and they want to get something like that, I mean, it's gonna spoil their experience, surely.
Yeah.
Defo.
Yeah, I agree.
We don't want to sit here loading tapes anymore. So why should we sit here waiting for things to load? If we wanted to wait for things to load, we'd switch the Xbox or PlayStation on. Yeah. To be fair.
Yeah.
Sorry, these glasses are doing my tree. See reflection from the monitor screen. I've got a new setup and I'm just trying to play with it and try and get it right, but obviously not right. So how are you doing, Neil? What have you been up to? What are you doing?
I've been trying to fix loads of things as usual. I've been playing with an Amiga 1200. It's one of them things where you obviously know we're doing YouTube, where you set out to do a YouTube video, you get the machine out, you think, I'm going to fix that. So you spend all day on it, it doesn't work. Yep. So then that's just that day gone. Yep. And then I think, I'll look at the BBC. Yeah, okay, that's working. And it's got to work, and it doesn't work. So then it gets to the point where I just think I'm just going to turn to the Mister, because I know that's got to work. And hence why I've had 2 Mister videos, because I've got all these projects around me that are on the go. Like I say, I found this Disciple, which I'd never seen before. Don't know whether you've seen one, Lee?
I've never seen.
Is that an add-on board, is it?
It's like an add-on, for a Spectrum. And it allows you to plug a floppy drive and load games and snapshot games to a floppy drive. And it's got 2 joystick ports, an audio.
There is one very similar, isn't there, called the interface. There's one very similar called the Interface 1 or Interface 2 or something like that. It is.
Maybe something like that.
And it has a slot in the top of it as well for the cartridges.
Yeah, it's got one at the back here, a pass-through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Have you had
that
it
thing
apart?
is quite long. Is that?
Sorry?
Have you had it apart?
I've not looked at it at all. It came with this machine, which is a bit weird as well, because this has got like a BNC on it as well. Can you see it? Which is not normal, is it?
Well, back in the day, people used BNCs for composite.
For video, yeah. I'm thinking
Yeah,
maybe it's hooked up to the composite because it's next to the thingy. But then it's got this. I don't know whether you can see out the power.
Yeah. But it's got
Like-
RF next to it, and I can see that it's got RF and the BNC on it.
So there's no what's his name there. Yeah, so
Is
it's
that
got
another,
quite,
is that another
quite-
adapter board there that's sticking out at back?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Because it's not blue, mate. Circuit board's
No,
not blue in them things.
That's obviously an adapter then that goes onto this one.
Huh?
To allow that to plug in, because this is from that machine. Because I tell you why, because there's two
Yeah.
screw holes there
Yeah, they do.
that screw into that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I've never seen that adapter in between them though. I don't know whether that's something.
So
Unless it is an adapter that they designed it and made it, and then went to fit it, and
Exactly.
they realised that they couldn't screw it in or something, so they made the adapter to sit it further back.
So I do plan to look at that in next week's video, hopefully.
Yeah, interesting.
Because it's like something interesting. I found all the software. I found all the manuals. Because you have to load it off. It's a bit backwards. You load the tape program first to
Yeah.
allow you access to this system.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
You've got me shitting me, ain't ya?
no.
Did that
honestly,
micro drives and stuff like that. You have to do
the
that.
main setup and everything is on a tape. But
Mm.
obviously, I'm going to run it through the Max Duino.
Yeah. I've got a micro drive system for the C64, and that come with a tape, and you have to load the tape in for the software, and it
Exactly.
sort of voided it null and void because it loaded about 4K or 8K of bloody memory just to load that loader for the fast thing to do.
Yeah.
So you were like, yeah.
I don't know how it's going to work, but
So there's no fucking ROM for it.
No.
I don't think there is. No, I don't think there is. I don't know. I've not looked into it 100%, but as far as I'm concerned, there's a setup tape for it. Whether that does something, I don't know.
If
But
I was you, Neil, I'd have a look for a Disciple ROM.
yeah,
You might have a patched ROM that you can drop into the specky, so that
Yeah,
the
that's a good idea.
extension's already there.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
idea.
that would be good. Yeah, but
Because
perhaps I
loading
didn't think
from
it.
tape first is bollocks.
Yeah, I think that's the way it was in them days, mate.
Back in the day, it was, yeah.
I
Well,
mean, to
I
be
do
able
know
to
that-
convert your tapes to a 3.5-inch floppy would be quite good, because it'll take
Yeah,
3.5
but I
and
do know
5
that-
1/4.
Even back in the day, right? If you had a Dragon with a floppy disk, a C64 with a floppy disk, you did not have to load a fucking tape first.
Yeah, but this is Spectrum.
Back in the day, when with the micro drive tapes from the C64, you did.
There you go.
You had to load a tape because it didn't understand the
Format.
the format of it all.
Yeah.
That's why it flopped. Yeah, in fact, I've got one of those. I'll see if I can dig it out in a minute. And have a look.
That'd be another interesting video to do. And I've got that, and I've got a BBC B64 case sat over there somewhere.
Nice.
And I'm just going through stuff in the car that I picked up from that guy's house because I need to empty the car because it's becoming a shed. And now my shed here is at full of crap. I just need to go through it. So I've got a Dragon to look at as well.
Yeah.
But it's like I say,
Oh,
if you
nice.
haven't got... Sorry?
Nice.
Yeah, but if you haven't got time or week to spend on one of these computers and you're trying to get near the end of the week, as far as you lot understand, you're trying to get a video, so you want to try and pick up something that will go through to a video, it's very difficult.
Yeah, so you can appreciate when it's like I've said it many a time. I do all my stuff on one day.
But I've tried that the last few weeks, and that's why I'm doing Mr. Video.
Yeah, I mean, it does balls up. You know, you're doing your video and stuff at work, and you're running into evening, and you know that you've got another 5 or 6 hours ahead of you for editing and stuff like that. And it's like, and you want to try and get it out for like 8 o'clock or something. And it's like,
Exactly.
you know, it's not happening. So then you revert to something like a cartridge video.
Exactly, something that's going to work. You know he's got backup.
Because you know it's going to work, don't you? You know what I mean? And you can show something.
What's that, Lee?
I said, "Where's Rudy?"
He's not here.
We can bring it in, Charlie. So how are you getting on, Joseph? What are you up to?
Well, I'm basically continuing the same stuff that I'm doing in my last 2 videos. So I'm developing a couple of demos for Commodore 64 written in BASIC. I'm looking a little bit more into demo scene because usually demo scene is always related to assembly programming and stuff like that.
Nice.
But there is one small portion of that can do it in BASIC. And I found that really interesting. It's interesting folks out there. So I'm kind of keen to get into that. So my days are going through, developing the basic code and stuff on Commodore 64, and stuff that we can do still that looks like a little bit like a demo on Commodore 64. So yeah. So I'm probably my next video is probably going to be something along those lines as well. I'll see.
So are we going to get a YouTube Retro Repairers demo, C64 demo intro then, Med?
Yeah, sure. I should actually create an intro for my videos on Commodore 64, not use, like modern one. That should be the thing to do. Yeah. So
while you're at it, you can do YouTube Retro Repairers one as well.
Yeah, I could give it a go. Yeah.
Cool.
So that's mostly on my side, just programming every day.
Yeah. So just sliding back and just going back to those repairs that don't work and things like that. This will bring us into his guest that's coming onto the stream today. We all need help with repairs. I don't care who we are. We all have to look up things, whether it's a schematic or whether it's a repair manual or somewhere like that. And Rudy's Retro Intel has created some absolutely brilliant manuals for the C64, and I believe
I saw that video.
And I believe that he's going to be looking into the VIC-21 as well. So with that, put your hands together, guys, and let's bring Rudy's Retro Intel in. Hi, how you doing, Rudy?
Just wanted to say hello to all my British friends.
You've got the best countries t-shirt on, look.
And hello to all my Mexican friends.
There you go.
As a true Brit, I've got a cup of tea.
Yeah. I've got a Polish beer.
Cool. How's everybody doing?
Thanks.
You guys,
good, mate.
guys look younger every time I watch your videos. What's going on here? What's the secret?
Yeah. We're getting,
your head gets shorter as well. So does mine.
Cool.
Yeah, so we've just been on about repairing things and doing YouTube videos and how much hard work it is, and it's not as just cut and dry as what people actually think. You watch a 10-minute video and you think, oh, well, that were a load of crap. But they don't understand what actually goes on behind the back of the video and what we have to put up with cameras stuffed in his face while we're soldering, or microscopes down there in his face, in his way. It makes it very, very difficult. And then not after that, you've got all the editing side of things to do as well with the video and your descriptions, yada, yada, yada. So we're on about it's really nice that we all have to reach out onto the internet, into that big encyclopedia out there to help us repair things. And I know you've done some great manuals on the PET and on the C64 at the moment, and I'm sure you'll have had to reach out there as well to get some information from there as well while you've been building these manuals.
I had to reach out. I search wherever I can find on the internet. I talk to whoever, other YouTubers or friends, whatever. Sometimes you just nothing out there. Like I did a manual for the Super Pet, Commodore Super Pet.
Yep.
And the only thing I could find on the internet was a technical manual with a schematic. and that was it. Like there was nothing else out there. It's like, so I reason why I was doing that, because I actually got a Super Pet, and it was completely dead. And the main board, which is called an 8032, and there's a daughter board that sits on top, which is the actual Super Pet board. And the 8032, I fixed it, no problem. I done dozens of those, so that was easy. But the top board, I couldn't get it working, and I actually at one point I memorized the schematics, because I was going through with the fine-tooth comb, checking everything, and it wouldn't work. And it found out later that there's a wire on the bottom of the board, of the main board, that needs to be in place. Well, it doesn't say that in the manual. It doesn't say that in the schematic. It doesn't say, oh, by the way, you need this special cable. Actually, I'll show you. So this is an 8032. This is the main board that sits inside. Like this one's dead, but this sits in the Pet. All right. Now, you need this wire put in. This is a bodge wire. Hello. I don't see it anywhere. It's not on the schematic. It's not on anywhere on the net. And then you also have a kernel ROM, a character ROM, sorry. And this character ROM is a special one that has two sections. One is for the actual 8032, which is the ASCII Pet, the Pet ASCII characters, and one is the ASCII characters, which is for the other board, which needs this this character ROM replaced. Again, that's not in the manual anywhere. I couldn't find it anywhere in the net. Nothing. Nobody knew anything. And then I reached out to some two friends of mine, and a friend of mine, Dave, lives close by, well, fairly close, about an hour away, and he had some broken pets. So I brought them over, and that's when we noticed that there's this wire that's needed in the back, and then the character ROM, I got that working, because my board would not work in my machine, but it would work in his machine. So I said, okay, I've lost enough hair on my head, now it's coming off my back, so I'm going to pull out chips on my board, on my main board, and put on his board and see if they would work. Sorry, the other way around. And it was the character ROM, and it's like, so anyways, make a long story short, I actually documented that in the manual, which is nowhere on the net. Like there's nowhere I got the Super Pet in April of last year, and it took me like 3 months to get it all working because of something you don't know about. And if you don't know about it, and no one else seems to know about it, or they do, but it's not posted anywhere.
Yep.
And you talk to your friends and they don't know, they, blank look. So I figured, okay, I'm not going to remember this stuff. I'm getting too old for that. So I wrote manuals for that. I have one for the VIC-20, the 64, the Apple IIe, 2 Plus, like I said, the Pet, and there's two versions for the Pet, and then the Nabu computer, which is a Canadian computer. So yeah. So the reason I put that together is that it's an easy place to go, because when you I'm not just, an Apple guy or a Commodore guy or a Atari guy. I like to play with all the different computers, like you guys like playing with different stuff. And you're not going to remember everything for everything. So I figure I make notes. And since I'm making notes, I might as well make it into a manual. And then I just start throwing it on the GitHub page. And then people have reached out and say, hey, have you seen this? It's like, no. Okay, I did this. I fixed it. So I update the manual. So I'll be updating the manuals as we go. And I'm working on a cost-reduced VIC-20 right now, which is a nightmare and a half. And once I get that figured out, then I'll be updating the VIC-20 manual. So, and again, it's free. I'm putting it out there so that people have something to refer to. Now, there are sites like there's Ray Carlson and Zimmerman's have websites with, excellent stuff too. So whatever you find there or whatever you find in one, at least it gives you another option of, looking for something to help prepare your computers, right? Because not everybody knows how to use an oscilloscope or, multimeter. They just, they're enthusiasts. They want to get their 64 working, but they don't have all this time or equipment to test. So if you have a dog and saying, okay, you're getting these symptoms, okay, try these these chips, and then off you go, and then you go back and programming or playing your games or whatever. So so
I completely agree with you there, Rudy, because if you look at most of my videos, there is an oscilloscope there,
Yeah.
I don't use it in my videos. And I do that purposely so every man or woman in the street can come and have a look at the video and sort of find a way of being able to repair their systems without having to go out and buy these expensive equipment that nobody's really going to ever have.
Yeah.
Or buy an oscilloscope to plug into the laptop that they're only going to ever use once.
Right.
You know, some people call it chip swapping, so be it. But if it gives you an understanding of where to go down and how to work by doing it in a layman's way, you know, then I think that people on the street can actually have a go then and do it themselves.
Yeah, I think the trick is, giving them some kind of guidance so you don't go down these rabbit holes all the time. And now you're spending 3 weeks for something that wasn't an issue. It's not this, it's that, right? So I figure everything and anything can help. And it's not everybody has access to other great YouTubers like you guys or others that everyone's busy and so they might just be someone saying, hey, I got a VIC 20 or 64 that's not working. How do I fix it?
And I can probably speak for all of us, to be fair, but we all still go down them rabbit holes.
Oh yeah, I do. I did the same thing with this cost reduced VIC. It wasn't getting any video, and I'm poking around for the past 4 hours in the video section, and I found out it's not that. It's to do with the kernel ROM. There's a broken trace.
One of them things, isn't it?
Yeah,
of course. Because I think one of the first operations on the VIC is to look straight to the kernel, isn't it?
Yes, the kernel, the VIC in the VIC 20, it's the VIC 1 and then the kernel, right? Those are notorious to fail on the cost reduced. It's kind of like the PLA and the 64, right?
Well, kind of like most chips, to be fair, isn't it? To be honest.
And my problem is that I get repairs, but there always seems to be boards that have no sockets. Get the desoldering gun out, desolder stuff, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, I desoldered the wrong chip. It's like the one next to it. It's like, oh.
True Commodore form, though, is that, isn't it? We'll just do what we can, and if we haven't got chips for that, stick some sockets in for when they come, and we'll put chips in it and just sell board on them. Same with like your patch wire that you were talking about on the back of that board.
Yeah, like it's
the 128 has it, doesn't it? The 128 has a patch wire that runs across the board, and I don't think that ever changed apart from obviously modern PCBs when we've reworked them. But yeah, they don't bother updating. It's like, oh, that wire will do. That'll do. Ta-da.
There you go. Well, I guess nobody in any of the companies thought 40 years plus later people will be still using this stuff, right? They'll be
definitely
it's the greatest, right?
Yeah, well, even Bill Hurd says he's very surprised that most of these systems are still running with, especially the way the chips were made anyway.
Oh yeah, all the MOS technology stuff is to be nice or crap, but and then finding replacements now is getting hard. Although it's getting better on the 64 side. A lot of people are making new replacement ICs for a lot of stuff like PLA and so on.
Because it's quite popular system.
I just wish they would someone would make a clone of the Super PLA in the 64C. That big, gigantic elephant of a chip, which is the PLA and color RAM and your grandmom's RAM and everything else. And it's like, it's got a kitchen sink and a couple of beers and all that. And it's like, it's not even standard like pinouts, like the spacing. So you can't get a regular 64 pin socket. So I wish someone would fix that, because then I would have a bunch of 64Cs that I can actually get working again.
I think I'm right in thinking on the C64C, the super PLA that's there. You've got color RAM that's at the side of it, and some of them doesn't. It's incorporated inside the super PLA. Is that right?
Right.
If I remember rightly. So I suppose when they're trying to make one of them, they're going to have to make two versions for people on the boards.
Well, you can make one version, and then just have maybe a daughter board that it plugs into, and have a switch that would, or a jumper you would just jump.
You just leave the other one off. It'd still look for it with the same chip select, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would work too, right?
Just leave the position empty. Yeah.
I think that's about the only chip that doesn't suffer too much with failure, isn't it? Or to present, should I say?
Except for the ones I have. I have 3 of them, and one's working. The other 2 are super PLAs, are not super anymore. So
wow.
Did you blow
It's
them up?
strange, isn't it, you see?
Pardon?
Did you blow them up?
No, they're already pre-blown up.
Oh.
I got them
Was
like
it-
that.
was that-
The whole thing is dead. And I went around with my scope and it says like, yep, not getting any signals. So
They're
So
generally
far,
regarded as like the most robust of the most chips.
Yeah.
but
I mean,
lately
I've not had one go on me yet. I've been quite lucky that way, but it's nice to hear
Yeah,
that
me
other
too.
people talk about them and say that they are, because when we're repairing these things, you'll know yourself, if you've never seen a Super PLA chip go before, you're not going to be looking at it. You're going to be just missing of it. You know what I mean?
But it's interesting, the last, I'd say 8 months now, I've been getting like, I do repairs on the side, just, I just charge minimal just for fun for me to, maybe do a video on it or something. But the last 6 to 8 months, I've been getting computers that have been completely fried because of their power supply, or they're doing something weird. Like the pet board I was repairing, it was like someone had something plugged in the back, like a drive, and they unplugged it with the power. So they went like that with a connector and
it's shorted across. Yeah.
Or, the 64s I've been working on, even 20, but 64s that are totally burnt out because their power supplies, they're using the original power supplies, and now they're popping 8 volts through their motherboard as opposed to 5. It's like, so I've been I get my cutters out and I just say snip, okay, here's your old power supply back, it's fixed.
Dangling it on cord as you pass it back.
There you go.
Speaking of power supplies, Neil's got a Dragon 32, and I strongly advise you to get, if you've got the power supply with it, bell it out before you power it up. It is.
That would make it more interesting. Oh, I bell it out. Yeah, I thought you meant throw it out. I went no.
It's a proper white elephant.
I will do. Yeah.
It's a special wound transformer with some real wonky donkey voltages.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah,
If you haven't got a power supply, your Dragon ain't working.
It has got a power supply with it. I've seen it. So yeah, I will bell it out.
Make sure you get in there and bell it first.
I'll definitely cheers to that.
Yeah, it'd be nice if the power supplies had a little display that would at least show you the minimum 5 volts if it's coming from the power supply, right? Like the voltage, so you know that you plug it in, turn it on. It's like, oh, the voltage is too high. Don't use it. Throw it away or whatever. Fix it. But like the older VIC 20s and the 64s, it just blows up. It's like, oh, what happened? It's like, I don't know. Send it to Rudy. He'll fix it. And it's like, okay, another power supply in the garbage.
Like you said, it's usually the regulator that blows, and it just lets the output from the transformer straight through, and that's usually about 9 to 12 volts, if it depends on the state of the transformer.
Yeah,
and then just kiss goodbye to your RAM for a start.
Yeah, I think Steve had one about 20 volt, didn't you?
The wall, weren't they, on that video that I did? I think we're about 21 volt on one line and 27 on the other, or something.
And that was sold as working, wasn't it, at a computer fair?
Yeah, I picked that up. It was fried anyway. I think it only took out the PLA, so I'm quite lucky.
Yeah, so you think that when the power supply fails, it's going to go to 0, not increase the voltage. So the design is not the best design. Like you should incorporate, in your design that if the voltage is too high, that it's going to pop a fuse internally or something else. Not expect your computer itself to pop a fuse or
the damage.
Whatever, right?
Yeah.
It should be a design in there for if it fails to drop this way rather than.
Exactly. Yeah. And,
you know what I mean? But
I guess it's to make more money, right?
Yeah, cheaper.
It was cost driven, but you could do that with just one Zener diode. Just solder it in like a crowbar at
That's it.
5.5 volts or 5.6 is a common Zener voltage.
Yeah.
Wedge that fucker in there to ground. Boom. If it goes over voltage, it'll just clamp it.
Some people do, don't they? They solder them back at C64 motherboard power connector.
Yep. Yeah, but it would, it's an extra few pennies per computer, so they didn't do that, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then the other thing is, again, like we talked about before, no one was expecting 40 years later that people will still be using their 64. So,
Exactly, yeah.
Or if it blew up, hey, great, you get another one. Come back to Commodore, we'll give you another one. Or don't buy this one, buy the 128. Yeah, look at this, it's better.
I didn't even expect to be using my 64 40 years old later, to be fair. You see these systems, don't you? When you grow up with them and stuff, and it's like they grow out with them, and like 14, 15, and then you're at school, and girls start, and marriage start.
You forget about them.
Things happen, and these systems get aged, and they go, bin, can't be bothered with them, and you forget about them.
Yeah.
And I never thought if somebody had said to you as a kid, don't worry about it, because in 30, 40 years' time, you're going to be doing YouTube videos about these systems.
I would say you're drunk or something. Yeah.
And what's YouTube and what's internet?
Yeah, what's YouTube?
I'd say you're full of bollocks.
That's it.
But yeah, no, I like all the different computers because growing up, I had an Apple II Plus clone.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then from there, I went to the IBM PCs and so on. So I never played with the VIC-20, the 64, the Speckies, none of this stuff. So now that I'm older and I can afford it and it's like stuff is available, I buy all this stuff. Now I have the experience of all the different, games and other, programs and stuff that's on these systems. That is really cool. Like when I first got my 48K Spectrum, I was like, this is pretty amazing considering the size of it and all these cool games. Mm-hmm. It's like if they sold that here, it would have gone nuts. Except it got that stupid Timex Sinclair crap, which had that stupid membrane keyboard, which no one liked. But the rubber key Speckie is an awesome computer. I have two of them. I think this is like it's so small and it's so cool and it has all these amazing games for it. It's like But
I used to have them when I was younger, and it used to get me into trouble because I was trying to play games on an evening, and obviously using the rubber key Speckie, you can't turn volume down because it comes out at the speaker, doesn't it? So I used to get my ear clips when I was younger for playing games when I was supposed to be asleep, like. But Speckie. I didn't have one too long. My mother I got one for Christmas, and it packed up about 4 or 5 times, and I don't know whether it was just me. Being a young age and not having volume set correctly or treble set correctly or bass set correctly or something not wired right way around for tape decks. And my mum had enough shipping back to the shop all the time because at that time the Spectrum had a lifetime warranty, no questions asked.
Oh, wow.
So if you didn't like it, you just took it back and got your money back. So that's what we did after a while, and she put the extra money through it and bought me the C64.
Which didn't need messing with volume.
And then that was history. So I didn't have one too long, but I do have a bit of nostalgia for the Speckie. I like them because the graphics they can be more detailed than what the 64 can.
Yeah, definitely.
The 64 is a bit more blocky. I love my 64, and I can rip it to pieces if I want, and I love it as much as I want, if you know what I mean. But the blocky graphics and the pastel colours on the 64 did sort of slightly let it down. If they'd have had more like a graphics that you could have with the Spectrum with more details, and a bit more vibrant colours without the clash. I don't think the Spectrum would have done very well at all, to be fair. I think the 64 would have just powered past it.
Well, they chose those colours. Those colours were actually chosen. And I think the pastel colours is what gives it its distinction, because when you play games like Pitfall 2 and you've got like 2 shades of green, 2 shades of brown,
true.
For the truth in that, it is definitively the best version. Whereas the Spectrum, it's all pure color, cyan, magenta, red, blue.
Sort of too much in your face, sort of thing.
It's a real retina burner,
Yeah.
And then you come on to something like the Amstrad, which does exactly what you've just said, and it looks like it's fucking glowing in the dark. Because everything just looks super saturated.
The Tron effect.
Really bright, pure colours.
This is why
he loves his Amstrads. He loves his Amstrads, Rudy, does he? He does love them, really.
And that's what you would have ended up with, and we all know how shit they are.
It certainly is.
I'll keep the pastel colours, thank you.
It's like the difference I saw between Monty on the Run. Like I said, It looked like somebody stripped the house out on the Spectrum. There's no details in there.
Yeah.
Did you see the difference? It's like an empty house where there's no plants or anything like that. You get on the
Right.
64, but it's like literally. But the music was just terrible. I couldn't believe how diabolical the music was. It was really bad compared to
Yeah,
the
but
64.
now it's bad. But I mean, back then it was amazing, right?
No, not if you compare it to the 64. There's no comparison.
Well, yeah. If you had a 64 to compare it to, but
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
everybody I knew
I-
either had one computer or the other. No one had, a bunch of different computers. Either had one and then you upgrade the next one, but you either trade it in or you give away your
Yeah, it's like when I first heard an Amiga. That just totally blew me away when I first saw an Amiga. I was used to a Commodore 64, and then you go to see an Amiga and you think it's unreal. Nothing's going to beat that ever.
Yeah, I was quite lucky back in there. When I was told that story about the Commodore and the Spectrum, well, before that, I had a VIC-20, and my mate had the 48K Spectrum, so he was pushing me to get the 48K Spectrum, which I did eventually. And then when he ended up getting a 64, and he came up to my house and put Ghostbusters on, and it screamed out Ghostbusters like that. He dumped his Spectrum and bought a 64. But I've always, I do tell that story quite regular away, to be honest, but it's a nice nostalgia story for me, is that side of things. We were on about alternative loading things behind the scenes just before we started. And I was telling Lee about the micro drives for the C64.
right.
And what we were saying about them is, I haven't got the tape with this one. I don't know where it is at the moment. But what we're saying is, they ended up being very, very pointless. Yes, you could speed load with the tapes, but you had to load a tape first to be able to operate this, which took up, I think it was 4 or 8K of the memory. So you could only have limited sort of games on the tapes. You couldn't have a full game, if you like, on the tape because it wouldn't fit. It wouldn't load. So these pretty much bombed out, and they're quite hard to find of these things now. And the tapes are all getting collapsed and falling in bits now, like. But I think I am missing that tape for that, unfortunately. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those quick drives. Oops.
Oh, is that called a
Yeah.
QIC drive?
I suppose so. You just call it a quick drive. Phone Mark 8500 quick data drive. Weird and wonderful things.
Yeah.
Good concept.
Oh.
And you have your port at the back there to put your tape deck in. So that one plugs into the back of your C64, and then you plug your tape deck in the back of there if you want, and you can load your tapes into that to record it onto tape in here so it can speed drive it.
Neil, we can't hear you. No. I don't know if that's by design or what.
Yeah.
He's gone off on it. He's knocked his mic off. Speak to us, Neil.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Oh,
Whatever. Well,
Talking
what I was
about-
going to say, Steve, is that the same as the Spectrum one that came out?
similar to their micro drives, yeah. Tapes are a bit bigger on these
little
things, like,
magnetic
but
tape
yeah,
that he sold as like a new technology.
yeah.
Oh, what? Spectrum micro drives?
Yeah, do you remember?
Yeah.
They were
Yeah,
on the what was that Spectrum that flopped?
It's what?
On the Spectrum that flopped really bad. What was it called?
Micro drives.
Micro drive.
No, but there's a Spectrum with one built in.
The plus three, wasn't it? No, that's
No.
the disk drive, didn't it?
QL.
Oh, the QL had it.
Yeah, that was the one.
They're called,
Yeah.
I
So
bet
here's
you
the
they called it the quantum heap, wasn't it?
No. Well, I actually saw one in a computer museum. I was quite curious about it because I've never seen one. And I looked at it and I thought, this is quite cool, these little cassettes. I quite liked them. It did look quite...
The thing is, you used to eject them and it had an endless tape in it.
Yeah.
And the tape used to fucking get caught and just fucking spool out.
There's another thing as well, which I saw on Facebook. I think Steve commented on it as well. That's a Spectrum. Was it Spectrum 800?
No, you
looked like
commented on it first, didn't you? It were a Sinclair PC.
That was it.
200, and it looked just like
an Amiga 500. Yeah, it looked identical to the Amiga 500. Can you get the picture up now and stick it up?
See if I can find it.
It run on CGA, I think, and an 086 processor. Honestly, it looked like an Amiga. Honestly, I looked at it and thought, I've never seen one of them in my life. So I went to look on eBay, and they were about $2,000, and I went, that's why I've never seen one.
Wow.
See if I can find it for you.
Yeah. Apparently, Amstrad did a version as well, very similar. Because it was around that time where they were like the same company.
So can I ask a question here? So back in the day, while you're looking for that, back in the day, were the floppy drives very expensive in Europe?
Yes, they were.
Oh, not
Yes.
They were. Commodore Drive was more than a bloody computer.
That's why we never had them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here they were cheaper. I mean, they weren't cheap, but most computers I've used or back in the day, or other friends of mine, whatever, we all had floppy drives. Very few people use the tapes, right? Like you can get the external tape for their VIC-20 or your 64 or whatever, but you didn't see many programs or games released. Not that I'm aware, but everyone used like drives. So it's interesting that it was so expensive in Europe.
Yeah, we all use tape over
here. A lot of the time, your drives were just dumb drives, weren't they? It was just really a drive mech, and then you had like an interface card or something like that. Whereas over here, a lot of the disk drives ended up with a complicated bit of electronics to run it.
Well, that's the same here. Like if you look at a 1541 drive, for the 64, it's a whole computer inside. It's like what? 6502 with memory and ROMs. It's like, why is for a serial? Like
exactly,
a serial drive? I don't understand. Like the Apple computers, they came with a drive with a very simplistic connection, which plugs into a slot, but it's a lot faster. I believe the data is going in parallel, not serial.
Well, the 64 doesn't have any disk drive routines built into it itself, does it? It only has the load command.
That's the problem. That was the same in, I guess, on the PETs and the VIC-20s and the 64s too. I guess to reduce the cost, right? But then you have to buy a floppy drive, and it costs 3 times as much as your computer because you have another computer. It's the same thing on the PETs, the external dual floppy drives. It's got a whole big motherboard, a big, huge thing with memory and CPU and ROM. It's like
I've got one of them.
I think the only computers over here that were mainly used on floppy disks were the BBCs. So they had a lot of floppy disks.
They didn't have a controller board. That was just a ribbon.
No, exactly,
straight in, and that just worked. But when you had something like a Dragon or God forbid the fucking Amstrad or the Spectrum, with those ridiculous 3-inch discs, right? That they just jacked the price right up. Did you have those 3-inch discs over there, Rudy?
Yes.
And the PCWs and stuff.
Yeah. But like I said, it wasn't very often we saw people here that I know of that were using cassettes. People were using were floppy drives. I mean, initially when things came out, like when the VIC first came out and the 64 first came out, of course people were going to buy cassettes, but then everyone quickly moved over to the floppy drives because the price eventually started dropping down quite a bit because they're saying that no one's buying them because they cost 3 times the price of the 64, right? So they started reducing the prices, and then it started becoming a big thing, right?
Yeah. Well, it's different here in the UK because we're completely the reverse order. We didn't bother with discs at all because of the cost factor. I mean, when I bought mine, I think it was about £300. It might have been £350 with Commodore 64. But at the time, I'm sure the 1541s were about 500 or 595 or something like that.
Wow.
So as parents weren't going to go ahead and do that, they'd rather pay 50 quid for cassette player for it.
And then
You know,
$1.99
cheap games, you know, for you and stuff like that. Because the discs weren't cheap. The disc games weren't cheap over here. You'd still look at probably £25 or £30, £29.95 or something it was for summer games on tape. You know, and if you wanted it on disc, it was nearly £45. But £45 back in the day for a disc game. So you got slapped for buying a disc drive, and you got slapped for buying when you're buying games, just to save that load time, which wasn't a big difference between disc and tape.
Well, the big thing here is once you got a disc drive, then you went crazy bootlegging games.
Nobody
really bought games.
On tape, mate. We were doing it on tape, so I was doing them at school.
Yeah, I was as well. Yeah.
You had the adapter in the back for twin tape decks, so you could play and record into it that way.
Commodores. Yeah.
And the action replay, a freeze frame cartridge, so I could get past Jet Set Willy codes and stuff like that. And Way of the Exploding Fist with that loader, that terrible Melbourne House loader.
I had Beachhead on the boot cassette.
With the borders that went white, and you had to rewind it a little bit and then go again. Have you ever tried loading one of those games today?
No.
Stop, rewind. And about 3 hours later, you get the game loaded in. You know.
You buy those Boots cassettes, didn't you? The orange ones.
Yeah. Here's one up here somewhere. I just can't get
C15s, weren't they, or something like that?
The war, yeah.
15
so freeze frame were great because it just obliterated all the loading process and just fast loaded it straight to tape for you anyway. It were awesome.
And then when the Amiga came along,
it had some good protection mechanisms on, because later games wouldn't work if you had a cartridge in. And then you got stuff like the final cartridge and the action replay, and that just ripped the arsehole out of all the games. And it was like dump to disc.
Tim's Retro Corner's just said it were $3.99, so maybe I were wrong. It's a year ago.
The first floppy drive that I saw was on PCs, and if you were lucky, you would have a cassette tape, and everybody else was retyping the programs for magazines. That's my experience.
Yep, I started that way. When I first got my 64, I didn't have a tape deck, so all I had is the manual and the introduction to the Commodore tapes and stuff, tapes and the books to type in out of and stuff like that.
Yeah, just retyping numbers inside.
About 6 months I like that until I begged them to get me a tape deck.
Yeah, I think also when the PCs started coming out, then the prices of the drives came down. The only problem is retrofitting them with the 64s, because the 64 didn't, like you said, Steve, that didn't have the knowledge inside the 64 to control the floppy
drive, right?
Yeah.
But it's too bad they didn't make it. Like they made a cheap computer, they should have made a cheap drive to go with it.
They did. The Spectrums and Amstrads did it. It was that ridiculous white elephant 3-inch drive, not 3.5 inch, 3-inch, and they were ultra shit because it's potluck whether your disc just stops working. They're really so unreliable.
Nintendo did that with Famicom disc drive as well, didn't it? Because it had that Nintendo logo as the security.
Yes.
Are they the same discs?
Same size, about 3.25 or something out there, something silly.
Oh.
They're about the same size at disc, apart from it has an extra little bit on the top where it says Nintendo.
Right.
And the patterning is raised up and down, so when it goes in, it can lock down inside that Nintendo to make sure it's a real Nintendo disc.
Not a clone.
I've not seen one.
Yeah, if look, you see Nintendo at bottom. So you can see word Nintendo across the bottom of it, can't you? You can see how it's raised and up and down. Look, you can see through in places because it's thinner. That's your security, is that?
Yeah.
You're actually smart.
It was smart for us to bypass as well, to be fair.
Neil, you're muted again. Neil.
Right, I'm back.
There we go.
I was saying they had machines in Japan where you could take these discs to, and like you wrote the games to the disc, like a vending machine.
Yeah.
You can buy them at the shop, sort of thing.
Yeah, they had a cool stuff in Japan.
Bit like Blockbuster's rental, innit? You go down with your disc and get a exchange for a cheap price, sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't know how it works, but like
Digital
I say,
downloading that in today's world, isn't it?
yeah.
I remember
think
back in the
Atari
day.
tried that, didn't they?
What's that?
Didn't Atari try that with a cartridge? You go into a booth and you could download another game to it.
Maybe in the US. I didn't see any over
I
here.
don't remember. Well, I'm in
Ah.
Canada, so I don't know.
Something similar to that. There's something like that. I can sort of recall something like
Yeah.
that, yeah, but I can't remember what.
I remember though, back in the day before the drives started becoming really popular, that this is for the Apple computer, that someone actually wrote some code and made a card that would you'd plug it into your computer and it would connect to your VCR, and you'd use your VCR to store all your programs. So you'd have a tape, like a 90-minute tape that would hold literally hundreds of
Exactly. I remember
games
seeing
on
them
it,
in the
programs.
magazine.
You just have to remember what number to rewind to or fast forward to. Pretty smart way to get around it. It's just one big ass tape, right?
I've got a 7-inch vinyl with Spectrum games on it and Commodore games on it.
Yeah, there's some music vinyls that had games on them or programs. Yeah.
I've got one of them, and I have the Codemasters CD as well. That one, that's a cracking bit of kit. Is that, if you've ever seen that? It came with a CD, and you had to put it into your CD Walkman.
Yeah, they used to sell them with a Walkman, didn't they? With the kits, yeah. I remember them as well.
I was looking at it before, and the way
to the tape port.
It goes into joystick port.
Oh, joystick.
Mm.
You have to do like Daily Constant Decathlon to get it loading faster.
You have to pick your CD up and go like that and make it spin. I'll see if I can find it. Hang on. Have a chat.
That's got to be proper slow, isn't it?
I don't know, mate.
I know you can only go about 9,600, I think. I don't think it go fast.
No, not fast enough.
No, not fast. Definitely not fast.
Not fast enough to be enjoyable, anyways.
Well, it sounds like another bloody wonky donkey idea, doesn't it?
It's wonky donkey's ideas that make the world go around.
Yeah.
Has anyone tried the tape cart on the C64?
Tape cart?
Tape cart. Like those little fast one that goes in the tape cassette.
Oh, yeah, I've got one.
Yeah, I
know
got
what you mean.
one. Yeah, I have one. Yeah.
Tape cart, I've never seen that.
Yeah,
I've got that one.
Yeah,
That's
those
the same.
bloody fast.
Oh, so
Yeah.
basically it's emulating a tape
And it
drive.
has a little SD card in it, yeah. That's the same.
Yeah. The only
Yeah.
problem that I have with those devices is you cannot write to them. You can read really, really fast, but you cannot write.
Oh.
And that's like, it's like minus for me, definitely.
I don't know, a friend of mine gave me one and I thought, I'll have it. It's free. It's just sat on the shelf.
So you have to then program it on your computer to put games on it or whatever.
Yeah, you just put the PRGs onto the SD card and plug that in, and then it just comes up with a menu, doesn't it? You just select them, I think.
Yeah, and it does have those special packages like CRT packages.
That's it, yeah. Stuff like that. It supports multi-format.
Yeah. It's really nice device.
Yeah.
It's what?
Can load
nice
it
device.
quick as well.
There you go. CD games pack.
And that goes in the joystick port, does it?
Yeah, it's got all them games on.
Codemasters. Jesus.
And inside, you've got your plug for your joystick port, and the other end of it goes straight into your CD Walkman.
So I
It's got
take it
audio.
you've got a load of bloody tape in first then.
And then you've got a tape to load in,
I knew that was coming. I
and
knew
then a
it.
CD player. Now, apparently, I don't know how right it is, but they also made the Spectrum version of that. So I do have the CD image, I don't have the tape image for it yet, and apparently the lead is the same lead as what you would use on the Spectrum as well. So
Yeah.
I won't mind trying that, to be fair.
So
But
that
as
must
far as I
be,
remember, that
The
these
Spectrum
things are.
didn't have a joystick port.
Well, that's it, innit?
Some of them did.
We just unplug it.
Yeah.
If you got two-player game, you just load it up and then unplug it and plug your joysticks in.
No, hang on.
No, he means it's like the ZX81. You needed the Kempston plug-in, didn't you?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
Well,
what he means.
48K, you didn't have a joystick port, did you?
No.
No, you didn't. So it still goes through the joystick port. You'd have to go through the joystick interface.
Have you, Steve? Have you timed how long that would take to load?
I've not, no, and to be fair, I've never loaded it. But
Because
I've watched.
it would take like a decade to load it through the joystick port.
Apparently,
No, it doesn't. What they've done is they're taking the games and taking them into is it Tape Uno or whatever they call it, or tap. Is it Top Software? I can't remember what they call it now. And they've cut out all the short periods of the and stuff like that. They shoved them all down, so the load time of it on disc is actually quicker.
Yeah, somebody's just commented how it works. He put his comment up. He says it's got the clock pulse and the other one, the data on different channels.
Yeah.
There you go.
Cheers for that. but apparently they're quite expensive and rare. Them. I don't.
You could be sitting on a fortune there, mate. Send it me.
I think they were about 160 about 4 or 5 years ago when I looked it up. That's what it were getting.
160 quid.
Yeah, so I'm reckoning it probably be up at maybe 200 quid or something now. Maybe. I don't really know. If anybody knows any different, stick it in comments for me. Try and get it back in its box now. Well, knackering it up.
Just realise that people's CD players are too rubbish for that.
Yeah.
You need to have one of those.
Anyway,
Sony Walkman. Discman, sorry.
Steve, have you done a video on that?
This what, sorry?
Have you made a video on that?
No.
You should.
Yeah, you should, yeah.
It's pretty interesting, different. I've never seen that before.
I've heard of them, but never seen one. Used to see them on the magazines and the adverts, the stuff that you used to dream of. Like the VHS tape, like you mentioned before.
Yeah, well, it's just tape, isn't it? It's media. You can do whatever you want. You could, if you had the capabilities of writing one, you could put games onto Laserdisc if you wanted. It's just it's anything that can give you that audio output that you can put it on.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. MP3 players a lot.
Yeah, even as phones now, you use tape players on the bloody phones, phones for them now.
Nokia 3220s. Exactly.
Wow.
So what's next, Rudy? Then apart from your Vic 20, have you got all else on the cards?
Well, I'm working on two other projects. One is the Des Test Max Dead Test cartridge replacement. It's a modern day replacement. I am evaluating one for Matthew Desmond, who makes a Des Test cartridge, and this is called the Des Test Switch. And what it does is it runs your diagnostics like the Des Test, checks your first 4K, and if it passes, then it goes to the next, it switches over to the next part of the ROM, which will do the rest of the memory and check your kernel, your kernel ROM, your basic ROM, and your character ROM. And that's really cool. It's about time that we have a new Dead Test cartridge, because the original one's okay, but when you get a flashing screen that says, oh, this RAM is bad, and then you go change it and it's still flashing, it's like, well, at least this, get a nice visual indication. And it does proper memory test. It does the March B test, which actually does the proper testing of memory, because if you don't really do a proper test, you can get a false positive saying, oh yeah, it's great, but it's not, right? Like, there's no problem.
Yeah.
So kind of working on that. And then I'm finalizing my next board. This is it's for the Macintosh SE.
Oh,
it's
nice.
a diagnostic board that you have a connector here that would literally plug into the PDS slot on the SE30. And then there's LEDs on here. and has the data address lines and then all the CPU related signals showing up here flashing. It's got it's also got points. You can stick your oscilloscope, or your multimeter onto the board, so you can actually measure the signals if you wanted to.
That's really cool.
And then it's got on top your +5, +12, -5, -12 meters. And the meters are, well, this is all real time, but the meters are real time too, so that you can tell there's a fluctuation of power. Like, or let's say it's not coming on. Well, you're not getting your 5 volts. It's not going to work, right?
Yeah, because usually you go through the port at the back, don't you?
Right. So this is just basically taking all the signals that are in the slot.
Yeah, and putting them all through to there.
Putting it all through something that you can actually
to get to as well.
Right. Because for you to sit there and stick a your oscilloscope probe on a little tiny pin.
Exactly. When you've got all that voltage around the CRT
right,
as well.
Next you're shorting something else, wondering why it's still not working. Well, you just
right? Yeah, that's really interesting. That is.
So this is coming out soon. I have the next version of this final version coming out. I should be getting the boards tomorrow, actually. So within the next couple of weeks, they'll be going up for sale. That's gonna help anybody with the SC30 or I think some LCs. Basically, any Mac that can accept the cards from an SC30 will work.
Okay. Right.
And I'll be making additional, once this is up for sale, I'm working on another version for the Color Classics and others. So eventually I'm going to have one for pretty much every line of the Macs. Because, basically it's the same thing. It's just the pinouts that are different, right? So the layout would be roughly the same, but it just managing where the address lines and data lines, etc., and where they go to. But I'll be doing a video on that once it's live. Although the weird thing is I built this, but I don't actually own an SC30.
So I've got one there.
I have no way to test it.
Working.
you need to test it.
So a friend of mine, Jason, in the States, he goes by Gut Bomb, and I've been sending him boards, and he's been testing them out and so on. So hopefully eventually I'll get an SC30. But right now, SC30s here, they're like ridiculous prices. Like
it's the same old way. Yeah, they're through the roof.
It's like you want $1,200 Canadian, which is about $1,000 US for an SC30 that may work. It's like, what? It's like, I'm not paying that kind of money on SC30. But I've designed, like I made the manuals. I've designed some other stuff for monitoring, and I know a lot of people have SC30, so I thought it'd be a fun project to work on a diagnostic kind of aid or board. That's why it's called. It's called the Mac Peeker, because you're peeking inside, right? You can actually get a visual representation of what's going on.
Really cool, that is.
You also have, I don't know if it's coming up, but you also have test points that you can then put your scope on and actually see, is the signal correct or is it dirty or whatever? And then again, the power stuff. So, so I'm working on that. But I do have a Color Classic. That's the only Mac I have. And so I'm going to be building one for that too. And then hopefully these will, but this will go up for sale sooner, hopefully next couple of weeks. Where, I don't know, just stay tuned to my channel and I'll have the details of where you can get it. There's going to be a US site and a Canadian site. So if you're in Europe and you want to buy one, you might be better off to buy to the Canadian side. I don't know, whatever's cheaper, right, for shipping.
Yeah. Definitely. I'd definitely have one of them.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of. I've 3 other people have it, and they've been giving me excellent reviews on it, saying this works really good. It's there was an issue with one of the tests that would lock up because of the resistors on here, the resistor packs. But we fixed it, so the next version is coming out, and that hopefully will be the end and ready to go. But anything. I like to make stuff to help people do repairs. I'm more of a hardware guy, and I like fixing things. And if I have something that makes my job easier, like that, or a manual or other stuff, then why not? I mean, how often are you going to be using it? Well, it depends how many backs you have and what you want to do.
Don't matter how many times you use it, does it? As long as it's there when you need it.
Exactly.
Well, it's like your multimeter, right? It's like your multimeter or your oscilloscope or your needle nose pliers. I mean, you don't use it all the time, but when you need it, and you have it, it's great.
Cool for the job.
Like your toolbox in your garage, isn't it? You've got that many special tools in your garage, in your toolbox in your garage, and you probably only use them once.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But they'll be there if you ever need it again.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess I'm a strange Canadian. I don't like seeing broken things. I don't like broken computers. I don't like broken dishwashers. I don't like broken cars. I like to have things, fixed or if it's not fixable, get rid of it. I don't like keeping crap for the sake. So all my things that I have, they're all working, but when they break, there are others. Then I have, certain tools that I can use and manuals, whatever, to help get things going. So I like that's my thing, is the repair. It's not because I'm making, a lot of money. I mean, I can't afford my new shirt, but that's about it. Maybe a beer or two, but it's not my full-time job, but it's just fun. It's like you guys, right? We do videos, we do software, we do hardware stuff because we love it and it's fun. But as you mentioned before, off camera, Steve, that it's a lot of work doing YouTube stuff, right? And people don't really understand. Like the video I made on my manuals, I got a comment saying, "Oh, well, this guy's has a site has a better manual than yours." It's like, well, that's great. I'm not saying mine was the best, but it takes a lot of time to put something together. Like most of my manuals, like 3/4 of my manuals, is stuff from my experience, not because I'm trying to copy anybody else. I don't want to copy them, but if things match up, that's great. But if I'm putting down what I know in my experience, and you find it helpful, that's it. I don't need anything. I'm not looking for. Great guy, he made these manuals. Like, no, I just want to share with everybody so that you can get your stuff fixed and you can get back to playing games or programming or doing whatever you want to do.
Of course, and that's why we all do YouTube videos. To be fair, is to show people how they can fix the gear.
Yeah,
we've all had comments before. No matter what you do, you're going to get somebody that's saying, "Oh, this is better, that's better."
I did a video, maybe over a year ago, and it had music in it. And some guy goes, "Oh, why are you putting music in your videos?" It's like, it sucks. It's like, okay, even better. Less work for me. I'll take the music out. Guess what? There you go. No music.
Yep.
But you're never going to make everybody happy, right? You're going to get comments that this is not good, or you're doing this wrong, or whatever. It's like, okay, then let me see, where's your YouTube channel? Let me see how better of a job you do.
That's the way I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. I don't have enough hair to worry about. It's like, screw that.
Exactly, yeah.
You wait till you start cutting caps off.
Oh, yeah. Now you're on a hit list, you're on the most wanted retro person to take out. Like, what are you doing?
I remember you doing that video, Lee, didn't you? You were doing all sorts with hammer and chisel and all sorts of stuff.
You get there's all kinds, but it's like, it's okay. It's like water off a duck's back, right?
Yeah, but having those manuals, that's a huge deal. They have a really good value. Having all those information in a single document, and people should appreciate that. I mean, I do. I want one classic too.
Yeah. Okay. I'm a classic too. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not easy to put stuff together like a manual. It takes a lot of time and a lot of writing and stuff. But again, like I said, it's free. So what do you want for free? I mean, hopefully it helps. It's helped me out. It's helped others that I know, and I'm just sharing it. And if you find it useful, fantastic. If you don't, then maybe it'll help you not go down a rabbit hole, right?
Exactly. That's it. Yeah, save time.
Like, I'm not the kind of guy. Like, I know there's other YouTubers, I won't mention who, but they'll spend, the whole video, scoping everything and doing all that kind of stuff. And that's great. I can do that too. But most of the time, like, let me back up a bit. When I was 15, I started doing Apple II Plus repairs at a computer shop that sold clone computers.
Yep.
And you don't have time to sit there forever with a scope, right? Nope. You got a customer's computer. You want it fixed. The faster you fix it, the faster they get it out, they make more money.
Yep.
Right. So I had that kind of mentality. I don't want to sit there and spend the next, 4 hours trying to figure out why they're not getting any video out of a VIC-20. I want to be able to look up something, say, yep, this is it. Change that, done, next kind of thing.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Without a doubt.
And that doesn't mean that, you don't want to learn why it's doing that. And that you can do that later. But my manuals are more for like, hey, I got this problem. Let me see what I could. Oh yeah, these are the 4 things I should look at. And again, it's hopefully routing you to the proper area to look at, as opposed to wondering why the fuse is not blowing when it's a video problem or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most of the time with that, when you're not using oscilloscopes and stuff like that, a lot of it is just by elimination, really.
I personally don't want to be sitting there and desoldering everything just because I think it's this and I think it's that. I use the scope to prove and say, okay, I think it's this, so let me get my scope and just verify. And that's how I did 2 Super Pet repairs not too long ago for another YouTuber, and he just gave me the boards, and they were both completely dead. I looked at my man and said, okay, it's these 2 chips. So instead of just desoldering both of them and putting sockets, and I actually used my scope to say, is it this one or is it the other one? And I can then verify that I pulled the right one, and off you go. So there's advantages to both. I mean, I think it's good to understand the system that you're working on and have an idea of how it works. Yeah. I mean, think about 8-bit computers. They're not really all that difficult. They're just 8 bits, right? So if you really, really wanted, you could probably memorize the schematic for any of them within no time. So, but understanding, what is going on, as opposed to, desoldering all the chips and then replacing them, put sockets, and now you might have made the problem even worse, right?
Yeah.
I've seen cases where people put sockets in and then they did a bad job, and now there's a solder ball underneath, or they've damaged the trace.
Yeah, I mean it's fairly easy for us. I mean, we've sat there and we've repaired classic computers for a long time now.
Yeah,
and we've all made our own tools and things like that to help us go through down the line, or we've bought tools to do so. I mean, I have a C64 where I've completely changed everything for zip sockets.
Yeah, I did the same. Yeah,
and that's the first thing I do now. First thing I do is fire the 2 up and start pull out what I can ever do. If they're in sockets, great. If they're not, then fair enough.
I bought a talk about testing. I don't really use mine anymore. I bought this unit. It's called a Chip Tester Pro.
Yeah, I've always wanted them, but they're very
it tests every single IC that you'd find in your BIC or your 64, Apple II Plus, Spectrum. It does CPUs, the 6502, Z80 or Z80, depending who you are. Your 6510, like all the stuff you would need is in here. So I don't really use my socket 64 much anymore. But even really good I have the adapter for the memory, so I can actually plug in here and test RAM. Now it's not as cheap as buying a 64 and putting zip sockets in, but the good thing with something like this is that you can then, you have a huge, field of testing to do, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. What I would say is, don't ever go out and buy them little crappy bloody RAM testers.
Those what?
Yeah, those little RAM testers.
Oh, right. I thought you meant these.
They are crap.
Yeah, and again, it comes back to how they're testing the memory. They're not using a mark test, right?
Yeah. No.
They're just checking, are all the bits on or all the bits off? Okay, that's great. But you need to have a March test, especially the March.
I don't think it even does that. I think it just picks at random some areas to test and then chucks it back.
Yeah.
These are okay for the money.
I had one the other day that somebody had sent me in to repair.
Yeah.
Those are good.
He was struggling with it. And he'd done everything. He spoke to him. He'd worked through everything. He checked everything. He checked alt RAM. Sent it down. And I was suspicious with them chip testers, so I just swapped it for a full set of RAM, and bingo.
Yeah, good. They work well.
Yeah, these are good for components.
Capacitors, etc. Yeah. I mean, they're so cheap and so good.
I have one somewhere. I think you give me it.
I did, yeah. I ordered you one from Ali.
I have a more expensive meter I use.
Oh, look at that.
But no, that one is great for the price. You can't beat it.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't.
If it dies, you buy another one for a few dollars. It's not like it's super expensive. But this is one of the most. This is probably one of the most expensive tool I have next to my oscilloscope. But what?
I have seen them, but
it's worth.
Be very expensive.
It's really worth every penny. And what you do is. When you turn it on, you have a dial, and you select. Do you want a 74LS, 74L? You want to look at the MOS technology. You want to look at Intel, Motorola, whatever, and you just adjust the wheel, put the chip in, close the door, hit test, and off it goes. And
Off it goes.
And like I said, if you really want a tool that does a lot of stuff, this is worth the money. It's not. I think it was like $200 US.
Yeah, Lee will have one next week.
But I highly recommend if you're doing a lot of repairs. Again, it depends on how much repairs you're doing. If you're not doing a lot, then don't bother, right? But the memory test, just the memory test alone, that is good because it does the proper testing. Whereas, there's 200-ish from memory. Yeah, if whatever you're using to test memory is not decent or good, then you'll be running around another rabbit hole wondering why it's still not working. The RAM tested okay, and then you find out later that it actually doesn't test. Okay.
Yeah, you got to test it at a running speed because
exactly
memory fails. Memory can fail above a threshold. If you're
exactly.
only testing statically, it could come back as saying it's okay, whereas it's really fucked.
Right, and it depends also too on temperature. I've done a repair on a 64. It boots up, everything tests fine, but you let it sit for 20 minutes, run the test again, and it fails.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables in there that could be
empty RAM.
Empty RAM, much trash. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly is. Where's Josip disappeared?
But back in the day, for that very reason, in the repair shops, they'd have liquid ice, wouldn't they? And just spray it on to cool the chips down.
I actually use freezer spray now.
Well, back in the day when I was doing repairs, in the shop, there was no time for that. We just we get new RAM, stick it in, it works fine, go. Then we would test the other stuff later or so. Because at one point, this is back probably in the mid to late 80s, there was a chip shortage of RAM.
I can remember that. Everything went skyrocket to the roof.
Back in Taipei, one of the plants caught fire where they make RAM, and RAM went like through the roof overnight, like just crazy. So
I remember 30-pin Sims went through the roof as well. Yeah, at the same time.
At that point, then we'd be going back and looking and testing defective RAM that we've been pulling out to sell because
I remember at one point with those 72-pin Sims, when the price went through the roof, at one point it was worth more by weight than gold.
Exactly.
I believe it.
That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah,
it was crazy.
I had bought a bunch of the 256K RAM chips for my IBM XT clone. Was it AT clone? Anyways, and I had about 1 meg's worth of memory, and I didn't pay very much for it. But when the prices went through the roof, I sold it, and I was able to use that money to pay off my computer.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll wait for memory later when it goes back down because the plant's going to eventually kind of come back online, right? People want it now. It's like, okay, here's the price. See you later.
Yeah,
crazy times. And now RAM is so cheap on everything, right?
Yeah.
It is now. I mean, it wasn't too long since where RAM was just going stupid again, wasn't it? We're really
when pies went stupid. Do you remember when there was a pie shortage?
Yeah.
Oh yes, the
pies. You couldn't get them. Lee's got them all on his shelf.
He's got them all. What do you want, fella?
Yeah, that was the same when there was a pie shortage. I remember looking online thinking, we're going to pay £100 for a Raspberry Pi that costs 15 quid.
Yeah.
Nobody could buy them except for Lee.
That was it. Yeah. Lee went, what pie shortage?
He was the one selling them, right?
I remember the Raspberry Pi 02Ws come out, and you couldn't get them for love nor money.
No, you couldn't. No.
They'd gone completely, and I had a few of them. So I built a cartridge. I built a cartridge for StatMat and sent him one with a Pi in it.
Yeah,
because I had a load of them.
Exactly.
I guess I just got them at the right time.
Yeah, definitely.
You caused all that, Lee.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Someone has to, right?
Yeah, so you're on about, Rudy, you're on about where you're picking different systems up. There's just one thing I'd say on that, because I've done it a few times now. You end up going down rabbit holes where you pick up another system up and then you start collecting for that system. And then you get another system and then you start collecting for that system.
That's the rabbit
And you
hole.
get another one. And strange thing is that your bank account balance comes down each time you get another one.
It's weird how that works. I don't get it.
So I've done it a couple of times now where I've stripped most of the stuff out and wanted to get my niche narrowed down to just let's either Commodore and a bit of Spectrum kicking around, on Amigas and stuff like that.
Yeah, I try to keep 2 of all my computers. Well, if I can, like I can't keep 2 pets, but they're expensive. But like I have, 2 64s. I have 2 actually have 3 VIC 20s, but all my, Apple IIs, 2Cs, and all that stuff. I try to keep 2, and no more than that. If I get more, I'll just sell them off or whatever. But I mean, I know people have like 20 of the one computer. It's like that's good for you, but I can't afford to do that, right?
No.
And you get
20s for amateurs. Ask Steve how many C64s he's got.
Exactly.
how
Ask
many?
him. I bet he's lost count.
I'd reckon on the 40 range.
That's all. Oh, that's nothing.
A
friend of mine,
I think I'm up at about 25 or 30 disk drives as well for them as well.
A friend of mine, David Bradley, has a YouTube channel called 8-Bit Commodore Man.
Yeah,
he must have 300.
Yeah.
Must have about 364s.
Oh yeah, he's loaded.
He's got 39 or 41. I think it was 39 last count of Commodore pets. And they're big, right? They're not. And it's like, oh my God, we can build a whole school with this stuff.
you need a bigger house.
Big museum, right? But
yeah,
I don't have this right. He was working for the Commodore when he was younger. He had some relation to Commodore
worked,
Canada, right?
There's a magazine called T-Pug.
Yeah.
Trauma Pet User Group became. Was it called Torpet first? Anyways, there's a lot to do with the Commodore stuff, and his mom worked for them, and he and his brother actually had a BBS running on their pets. For Commodore VIC 20, 64s, and pets and all that stuff, and he just became a huge collector, and he's been collecting since he was a teenager. So of course he's gonna have a lot of stuff, right? I only started collecting for the past 5-6 odd years now.
Yeah.
So
the only reason why I've collected stuff like that is I've done it for like a retirement nest egg, if you like. We talked off scene about moving to different countries, didn't we, when we retire and put our feet up. So that's basically what I'm going to do when I retire. I'm just going to sit and start selling off all these systems.
Yeah,
and clear it all out that way, and off you go.
I mean, look at price. People will not want them anymore.
You what, mate?
Do you never think that generation is going to go and nobody will want a Commodore 64 anymore?
Well, what in 2 years?
Yeah, and no, but
but yeah, I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I always think to myself, look at the price Amiga 1200s are fetching now, for example. They're like £500-600 over here now, aren't they?
Yep.
And then I think, is it going to come to the point where they're not going to want them anymore and the price is going to drop again?
Well, we're nostalgia collecting, aren't we? Because we had it when we were kids.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
So that it sounds horrible, but as we pass on, as the age goes by,
we disappear. It's like my lad; he wouldn't go out and buy an Amiga,
but he might do now because he's nostalgic with you.
But he's not; he hates them.
It doesn't matter. I hated Spectrums. Lee hated Amstrads at one time.
But you know what? There's a lot of younger people that are getting into the retro computer stuff.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of YouTube channels of younger people in their 20s actually doing YouTube channels, doing talking maybe not repairs, but talking about the Atari 2600 and Spectrums and 64s and all that stuff.
I think this era of all this retro explosion,
Yeah.
is going to create a lot of nostalgia for our generation's children. Well, my grandchildren, if you like.
Hopefully, yeah.
The first thing they do when they come to the house is they want to put Commodore on and play Ghostbusters or Leaderboard or, you know. And it's great to see that one player, you know.
When we go, when our generation pops its fucking clogs, right, there will not be
Any idiots like us.
And in the retro.
There will be, because of the new retro.
You might have a few, but it won't be anywhere near like as many as right now.
But if they do, they have manuals to fix them.
Yes, he's future-proofing it.
Yeah, but it's like the 360 now is becoming retro. It's on the tipping point of that, if you know what I mean.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about in Europe, but here in Canada and the US, vinyl is back now, big time. People are buying records again, and not just that, people are buying VHS tapes. Like people want to, go watch a movie from the 80s. They want to watch Top Gun in the original format.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's kind of shit. But if that's what you like.
Well, they do. You're right. I mean, my daughter came round with her husband a few years ago now, and I still have my big hi-fi stacker system, my Denon stacker system, and I had Euphoria music on tape, and I stuck that in, and that's that playing. And my daughter goes, "What's that you're playing?" And then, what do you mean? She went, I know it's Euphoria, but what are you playing it on? And so I pulled tape out and give her it, and she went, "Wow!" I went, "Why? What's up?" Like, she says, "You can hear all the instruments separately.
Yeah,
you can hear the drum basses coming in and flowing out and stuff like that. And that's your analog. I said, your difference between your digital and your analog is if you put it in waveform, is switch on, switch off. Mm-hmm. As in coming in and out. And she was gobsmacked that she could hear all these instruments bouncing around and fading in and fading out when you're listening to Euphoria.
Because music itself is analog, right?
Yeah.
So it's better off to record in analog and play back from analog than digital. But
instead of recording it in analog and then converting it to digital.
But
recording it in digital,
people are getting nostalgic about the old stuff, like I said, VHS tapes and vinyl records. That gets huge. Oh. I remember
I can understand vinyl.
Pardon?
I can understand vinyl because that's really
I can. Yeah, that is different.
But VHS was shit.
Well, compared to now, but back then it was awesome, right? You had Blockbuster, you could go buy it, get around the weekend, and you'd go home and watch it, right?
I mean, I put my Laserdisc onto me 47-inch TV, and it looked really shit.
Yeah, but if you played on a 1701 Commodore monitor, it looks awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it did.
But that's the thing. So hopefully the retro newer generations pick up more retro computers, and then VHS was awesome. Yeah,
Betamax was better.
That
actually.
Technically it was, but it didn't become popular. It's kind of like Blu-ray and
HD.
HD.
Yep, exactly the same. HD quality were better. You just couldn't fit as much on a disc as what you could do with the Blu-ray disc.
2000 where you could turn the tape over.
But you have to do that with Laserdisc. 30 minutes, you got to turn it over.
That's a fucking Amstrad of video.
Obviously, we had Betamax at home. I always remember we had Betamax, but I always remember.
I can tell you like Amstrad just by comments like that.
Video 2000 was before, wasn't it? You could record, and I think before that was Video 1500. I think the tapes were about this big.
A bit like your stencils that you get from PCBware.
Yeah.
Have you seen them, Rudy?
Yes.
it's like for this bit.
Really?
Is what it is. So a board this big.
Size matters, I guess, right? I'm not saying yeah, but
have you ever tried using them, Neil?
Sorry?
Have you tried stenciling?
I have, yeah. It does work.
How'd you get on with it?
Very well with a heat plate.
Yeah, I need a heat plate.
Why?
Did you clean the stencil between each one?
Yeah, when I've used it, yeah. You use IPA on it because otherwise, and a toothbrush, because otherwise you get all the old thermal paste, not thermal paste,
No,
but
no. Did you just
soda
make one
paste.
board? Did you
Yeah.
make one board? Or did you make a batch?
No, just one, mate.
Ah, well, I made a batch, right? And I made 10 of these fucking Pytrexes, right?
Here we go.
And I got down some PCBs and I put the stencil down and I'm fucking buttering it up like butter on a bloody bit of bread, right? Next one.
All of your stories.
Next one. And I've done it and I put all the bits on, put them on a heat plate. But what I noticed was, as you got to like number 5 or 6, it starts to sort of leach underneath.
Yeah, you need to kind of clean them with
it's
IPA.
spreading out. So with a stencil, you can only do 1 or 2, and then you got to fucking stop, clean it all
Clean
off.
it off.
And
Yeah.
what a fucking ball ache.
Yeah, but if you're doing like I do the Atari cart or something, it's very good. It's very neat. You can just place all your components on them with your tweezers and then heat it up and then just watch the magic as they all appear.
That's what I did with the Pytrex. I put all the components on and then just bunged it on the heat plate.
Yeah, it's so cool. I love it.
Oh, yeah, but
you did a short, didn't you, Neil? You did a short with it. You did a short with it, and PCBWare shared it, didn't they? With it?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
They were a bit like what they call it. Is it SMR or something like that, where you can watch it and it all just sort of melts.
And my face is like this, good.
Woo!
See, that's too much patience for me. I can't. I just get them to the manufacturer to do all the parts. I haven't got time. It's like, you know what? I'm turning 60 in March, and it's like I don't have time for this crap. I got other things.
I did that. I had the 1581 board that we were all having problems with, and there were about 4 of us building the 1581, and it just kept coming up with error 74 all the time. And you might have an idea what this is, but right, I built one and it kept doing it. So I sent it to Lee. He had a look at it. He put his original board on it. It worked. His disk drive on it. It worked. It come back. I put it back together. It didn't work. I tried it with the PC drive. Didn't work. Tried it with about 10 Amiga CD disk drives. Didn't work. Tried it with adapters. Tried it without adapters. Tried different ROMs. Tried the different jumpers on them. And it just got to the point where it's like, we're like 12 to 18 months down the line here, and it's now on the shelf out at where.
Did you apply power to it?
To me.
So I thought, yeah, you got it back again, didn't I? Sent it back down and take a look at this thing. I'm sick to back tape of it.
I put Rotec on it, and it was working again.
Yep.
So I sent it back.
Yep.
Wow.
So it would not work for me at all. So I asked PCBWare to make me another one, completely different redesign developer that would design the board. I thought I'm going to move away from that, get PCBWare to do that because I'm sick to back teeth of it. It go great. They did everything right for us. Absolutely spot on PCBWare. They do fantastic work. Plugged it in, exactly the same.
Oh no! Did you have
my workaround? Right, and the only way I could make it work is having Jiffy DOS installed into the C64 and press F1 for directory. And as soon as I do that, it comes out of its shit mode and it just works flawlessly.
That's strange.
And every now and again, it'll just go, no, 74, and I press F1 on it like that, and it just clears instantly. And they're both exactly the same.
Yeah. Yep. My one's the same.
Yep. So I've given up with them. The work for me, and I know how to get around them and stuff like that. And if I ever sell them on, I'll just tell people, look, there is a slight design flaw in it for some reason, some why, I don't know. But you need Jiffy DOS in it and F1 to get out of it.
Does F1 do a reset?
It just does a directory list. Basically like going load $sign.
Yeah.
Same thing. But I don't understand whether it does it a different way when in Jiffy DOS or whether it does it different in BASIC. I ain't got a clue what signal it sends to it. But you hit F1 and it just lists straight away. And then you can do your $sign if you want, and that works, and you load and pick it out, format, whatever you feel like doing. But while it's in that code error 74 mode, right? It won't do nothing.
But Lee, you said it worked fine in your system, right?
Yeah.
I've got a proper original 1581. I took the drive out of that, plugged it
Right.
in, no problem. Worked every time.
That's strange.
Weird.
Yeah.
You were having the same hassle, weren't you, with one? There were a couple of others that were building them as well. They were having similar kind of troubles with it.
Yeah, that's
Well,
why I
Steve,
never attempted one.
Steve, just take them all and sell them to Lee.
Exactly, yeah.
If I sell them, I'll sell it with a Jiffy DOS chip. Need to change your kernel. But yeah, it's just weird. I don't get why it's like that, to be fair.
Have you tried on different computers? Like,
Yep.
are you using the same one, or you tried different ones too?
Yep,
Yeah,
different computers. I've tried it on my SX. I've tried it on my 128D. I've got a 128 flat. I've tried it on exactly the same. It's code 7074. As soon as you hit Jiffy DOS on the C, plug it into C64, hit the Jiffy DOS, unplug it, plug it back into others. It works.
What you need to do is grab your computer, grab everything together, put it in a box, drive over to Lee's house and plug it in to see if it works.
That's not to see if it works.
Then if it works, leave it on, plug a battery
I
into
think
it, bring it
Steve's about
home.
5
but stay
hours
powered
away
up.
from me.
A big extension lead.
Yeah,
I think 5 hours is better than waiting 2 years, isn't it? But Lee would have it same hassle with one that he built, didn't you? You built the same thing and you have it same trouble.
I got mine to work with a GoTech, and it worked fine.
Yeah.
Something to do with the actual disk drives.
Yeah, Tim said his both work now, by the way. He used a bodge wire.
Oh, that's something new.
What did you use bodge wire on? Come on, Tim, spit it out.
He's kept it a secret now, and he slipped.
Yeah.
He's told us now. He's slipped up now, haven't you? Come on. Bodge wire.
Did Tim do a video on that?
No,
I thought he did a video on that.
he's kept it quiet.
His secret.
Yeah, I didn't know that he made his drive works.
I've got some stuff to send him, so I'm going to send him a spare bodge wire.
Tim was with the
You have
manual.
the same problem like Steve, right?
He said I did a video on it.
All
Yeah.
right.
Oh,
Better drop the link if you can, Tim, straight into there, and we'll.
Yeah.
It'll come up and we'll have a look at that again later. I probably missed that. I probably did see it, but I probably missed it. We watched that many 1581 videos to try and work out what the hell's going on with that. It's just crazy. But it almost feels as though the signal is not as strong enough, but it is when it's digital, like with the GoTech. You know what I mean? Rather than an analog signal to a digital signal, it seemed to work well with GoTech. But I didn't try mine with GoTech because I still had an old GoTech. Well, I still had the menu system where I had to preload me ADFs into it for all
Remember
the.
you saying that, and I said, "No, you don't need to do that anymore, Steve."
I've never updated it, to be fair. Like, and he said, you don't need to do that. So, right, I'll get the update.
You had the prototype one, didn't you?
Pretty much.
Where's Lee gone?
Interesting. Hey, I think he ran away, got scared.
He's got to look for his Amstrad.
Oh yeah, he's come back with his Amstrad t-shirt.
Yep. I need to. I was thinking of working on a manual for the Specky, but the Specky computer is kind of weird because there's so many different revision boards out there and different mods and stuff. It'll take a long time to put them together. I've put something together from my experience fixing them, but there's not a lot here in Canada. There you go, the service manual. There's
I think you should do a Harlequin service manual.
Oh, bloody don't mention that. Bloody thing up there.
Yeah. Is it working now?
No, it's doing the same as Lee's.
Give it to Lee. Oh, Lee's okay.
Yeah,
We've got Jeff Harlequin.
I found out there's one chip that was running too slow, so we had to replace it with a faster version. and now mine does exactly the same as his. It will work, but you try to load something on it, and it's like it's tone deaf. It doesn't hear anything.
You can see border flicking, can't you? Just a quick flick, and so you can tell that it's hearing something. I feel as though it's got a wrong resistor value that's pulled its signal down too low.
Are you using like HC chips?
Yeah, we've used HC chips and stuff. Yeah, we've tried to upgrade them. I think the new one was the one above that. I can't remember what it was. It was a different chip we changed to. Lee told me which one it was, but we changed it. And
have you changed them all or just certain ones?
No, just certain ones. I think Lee's going to work it out soon anyway.
It could be a timing issue because you've mixed types of chips, right?
You've just missed out. Rudy were on about making a manual for the ZX Spectrum, and I said he needed to do one for Harley Quinn.
You've got the same problem as me, haven't you?
I'm going to get the scope out and figure out what's going on. I think the volume threshold
is too low,
just below the trigger of the TTL logic chip, and I think it's just marginal.
So it uses that 311 chip, doesn't it? I think as an amplifier. Is it a 311 or something? Yeah.
But I think there's just not enough drive there just to trip the threshold of it.
It's very strange, isn't it? Because everything else is working now. It was that other chip. Yeah. What was that other chip we changed to? What was it? You suggested the faster one.
Oh, what, the ACL or the F?
That was it, yeah, ACL, I think.
Rudy, what it was is the Harlequin's built on a lot of TTL glue logic.
Right.
And it takes a 28 megahertz signal and clock divides it down for certain other things. It goes down to 14 for something, and then 7 for I think the video carrier, and then it drops to 3.5 for the CPU. And what was happening was
one of the 2.5, I think. Yeah.
One of the chips that was on the clock circuit topped out at, I think it was 22 megahertz, because it wasn't a fast part. It was just a regular Schottky Schottky part. So I changed it out for an ACL variant, and I bought some F as well for the high frequency ones, and it just came back to life.
Yeah.
Once I got it on the scope and I saw it come up as 22 megahertz, I thought, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah.
And then I just realized.
Yeah, having slower chips, it's like memory, right? If you have, if your board uses 150 nanoseconds and you're putting 300 nanoseconds, you're going to have all kinds of weird problems. So it's the same kind of idea. It's just a matter of making sure that not just those, but all the other chips have the proper specs too, right?
Yeah. Because
you might solve a problem in one section, but it's being amplified in another section.
Exactly, yeah, that's what was happening. It's just strange.
But doesn't the Harlequin come with a manual tell you which ICs you should be using?
Yeah,
it does, but the BOM is a bit ambiguous for some of the chips.
Okay.
It doesn't say critically, oh, you need X amount of megahertz at this point.
Exactly. Just tells you to get a 74 LC40 or something like that, doesn't it? That's all it ever says. Yeah.
Interesting.
And there's some really fucking funky glue logic in there. The real fringe variants. Some of it is ACTs, I think.
Right.
And it's like not your regular sort of chips that you just chuck in something.
So it's not like an LS or HC or like that.
You've got under these chips as well, just replacing one ULA chip, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
So timing is going to be critical.
ULA. So
that means that it's the timing is critical when you have all these external chips, so that they have to be certain specs. If not, they won't be able to handle the frequencies, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing with glue logic, it's not just frequency; it's also trigger point.
Yes.
Because that varies according to the variant you're using.
Right.
So
yeah.
You might
the thresholds
will be different Exactly.
you could have the exact same chip in 3 different versions, but their thresholds are going to be different,
Especially
right?
with AliExpress,
That's
where
what
I buy
I
mine from as well.
That's what I think is going on with the input to the sound. So that's why it's not loading a game. I think it's marginal.
Well, there's one way to fix that. Just don't load a game. Just type it all in from by hand.
I mean, basic.
Get your book out and your manual and start typing.
That's
I
the way
did better than
forward.
that.
But you can't save it to tape.
I said
That
fuck
worked,
it and just
didn't
put
it?
it all on a dandinator.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that did work.
Yeah. But why would you want to save it? Just the fun is
Yeah.
typing it all in, playing the
Yeah.
game, turning it off, turning it back on, then typing it all over again.
How
Exactly.
often did you play the game, though?
Pardon?
When you typed it in, how often did you play the game?
You didn't. You just got it running, didn't you?
You just
Even
save
fired
it,
up
hope
crashed, didn't it? Or it didn't run at all.
Yeah.
half the time, the books or magazines we would get here would have, okay, here's a really neat game, and this is the basic program for your TRS-80s and for your Apple and for your Commodore and for whatever else, and then you type it all in and it doesn't work, and it says, oh, wait for the following month for the fix. So you have to wait for the next month to come out saying, oh yeah, here's a section that we forgot to put in, and you're banging the screen saying, come on, why isn't it working?
Yeah, but by that time it's passed, hasn't it? And you've recorded over it, binned it, and you're not bothering with it anymore.
Well, because there's another game that's coming even better, so you're gonna
Yep,
type that one
that's
in.
Did you ever have a book, a magazine series called Input?
No.
Input magazine, yeah, I remember that.
That was really good.
No,
that
but
one.
we've had similar magazines, like there was Bike magazine and a whole bunch of other stuff, depending on which computer type you like. But there was tons of them.
Input did this thing where it programmed for all the micros at the time, and
Right.
that's all it was. It was all about programming. It was a 52-part job, and every
Wow.
fucking month, your next part had all the fixes for the previous month. 'Cause
Yeah.
right.
And meanwhile, for the whole month before, you're wondering why it's not working. You're trying to fix it, and you say,
Yeah,
"Well, wait
yeah.
till next month, and it's fixed."
Yeah. Good old days. You can't beat them, can you?
Yeah, that's when I used to have hair.
Yeah, me too. Now I have to grow out of my chin these days.
It's not growing out your chin. It fell through your head to your chin.
It's that storm we've just had. It blew it off.
Exactly, yeah. There you go.
You can make it really long and just kind of tie it up on top.
You need to pull it back through, mate.
That's it. You just tie it off. Pull it up. Do Beetlejuice. Well, it looks like it's getting to that time. I'm going to have to start wrapping things up, guys. If you guys want to add anything else that you want to say towards the end of the stream,
No.
say your piece now.
Good.
If not, absolutely cracking. Rudy, it has been an absolute pleasure for you to coming on. We'd love to have you back on in the stream again in the future if you want to pop in again.
Thank you all for the invite. Very, my honor to come on the show and have some fun and talk with a bunch of great guys and all the cool people in the chat too. And again, thank you so much. And if you want to reach me, it's Rudy's Retro Intel on YouTube. There's my GitHub page and my email. I don't do X or Mastodon or all the other stuff. It just I'm old school. It's either email or don't bother me.
I know what you mean.
I should start a BBS. You can just go use BBS then just contact me.
Good idea. Good idea. Good idea. You can borrow me 15 faulty 41s.
I have to get a dial-up line put in the house.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to call it a do there, guys. Thank you for watching the stream. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and we shall see you on the next one.
Yeah.
See you, guys.
See you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.